Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I've got a viewer question here. Okay, this one's a little spicy. Hey Perch, you hypocritical asshole. You're always drinking. You encourage drinks on the Friday stream. You talk about whiskey. You have some vendetta about Arby's. I'm not sure what that has to do with any of this. Okay. But yet you do videos telling creators that they shouldn't drink, that they shouldn't go to BarCon and enjoy themselves. What gives? Why is it okay for you to drink and not the creators? In fact, in many of these stories at the cons, you talk about you buying people drinks. You say you'd buy people a beer. Why would you say, I'll buy you a beer and then tell them not to drink it? Love your channel. Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's go. Let's go. All right. I'm on this. I think there's, maybe it just has to be said. But here goes. There's nothing wrong with drinking. You can absolutely drink. Um, I'm making an assumption, and granted, I not everyone has this self awareness. I mean, if God, social media and everything else has not taught us this, then I don't know what to tell you. But um, I'm making an assumption here that you know your limits. You probably some of you do, some of you don't. How do you know if you know your limits or not? Well, simple. How many times have you gone back to your hotel or apartment and vomited after a night of drinking? Okay, and those of you are raising your hands. All right. Now, how many of you who have done that, who've been sick and thrown up after a night of drinking, how many of you have made it to the toilet to throw up? And how many of you have thrown up on your bed, living room floor, hallway, the cab, whatever it happens to be? Okay. um, if you have thrown up places other than the toilet, you do not know your limits. And also, generally speaking, if you throw up a lot after a night of drinking, you do not know your limits. Anything happens. There's a whole progression of alcohol. Like, for example, you basically want to pick a liquor and stick with it. You also want to hydrate, drink some water, eat. If you do not eat and then you go out for a night of drinking and then you just start drinking random stuff, particularly stuff with a lot of sugar in it. So if you go to a very kind of sweet frozen margarita and then you have a beer and then you get like a daiquiri and then you drink some Red Bull vodka, you're gonna vomit. I mean, your body's not meant to hop alcohol like that. Throwing some wine into the mix, you're just asking for trouble. Generally speaking, you want to progress. What was it? Beer before liquor, never sicker, I think is the phrase. You want to go liquor, wine, beer, kind of in that order. But better than that, pick your lane and stay there. Drink whiskey and then just drink whiskey. Drink your vodka Red Bulls if you're one of those people, and stick there. If you're drinking beer, just drink beer, but kind of understand what you're drinking. In many ways, this is easier because you just have to remember the one drink you got and stay there. I'm making an assumption. In many cases, I think there's nothing wrong with going out and having a drink. Obviously, I will tell you, despite the fact that I'm drinking on the Friday streams, I have not, given out my social security number. I have not accidentally turned on the camera so people could see my face. I have not launched into an anti-Israel rant. I have not done any of those things. I don't know if I got really hammered if I would do those things. I would hope not, particularly the anti-Israel rant. I've been drunk before. I know I have not said those things, but who knows? Don't put yourself in the position where you lose control of what you're saying. And I think it's pretty easy to avoid that with some basic self-control and some basic understanding about you. So, I mean, I think that it's absolutely fine to go out to events. Now, I will say this. If you're at a comic convention and you're going out to a party, I think you should, at this point in your career, you should be very cautious of what you're doing at that party. If you look around that party and you see a bunch of people who in the past have complained about harassment, be on your best behavior. I'm not saying they're all lying. I'm not saying they're making stuff up and you could be next. I'm just saying if you're there and you see a bunch of people who've had really difficult experiences, then either A, maybe these people have made some of it up, or B, maybe they haven't made a single thing up, but they're also on the alert for repeat offense, which is normal. So don't get yourself involved in one of those situations where that's going to happen to you. Don't walk in there going, "Hey, I'm looking around. I see a bunch of people who have, you know, made big long Twitter threads about harassment and poor treatment, and I see all of them are here at this party and they're all drinking. I think I'll go ahead and pound back a bunch of shots and see what happens." That's stupid. Don't do that. But there's nothing wrong with drinking. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with going to a con and having a drink. There's nothing wrong with going out with friends and having a drink. What's wrong is when you start to forget where you are, what your name is, if you feel like you might have peed yourself and you kind of feel around down there and you did, you've drank too much. It's also good to have an exit strategy. And what I mean by that is when you go out for a night of drinking or revelry at the con, have a plan of how you're going to get back to your hotel room. And you should have that before you set out. Now, that doesn't mean a designated driver. It could mean a cab. It could mean an Uber. It could mean walking, through the alleys of New York, whatever it happens to be. Just have an idea in mind going in, and you will have a better time with the whole event because you know what your end looks like. That's a good idea. I think I don't think these are incompatible thoughts. I don't think they're hypocritical thoughts. I think it's perfectly okay to drink some alcohol. I know I have a pretty high tolerance, made from many years of pickling my liver. I've beat it mercilessly into submission. I will die younger. I've come to accept all of those facts, and I know I can go out and hold my own, do have a good time. I also know that other people don't have that ability. And I also know it's very tempting when you've been shut in the house for a year and you're out for your first night of drinking to go ahead and push it a little harder because everyone's having a good time. I'm just saying that's stupid. My frustration with BarCon is not that people get drunk. People get drunk all the time. My frustration is that this stuff happens. Everybody complains about it. We sit through months of public recriminations and guilt and accusations and finger pointing and career death and all this other kind of stuff. We go through a long parade of that. And then the next con rolls around and people do it again. That's the frustration. Actually, it has nothing to do with drinking. It has to do with the fact that people are dumb and they keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. That's the part that sucks. And by the way, that this is not limited to comic professionals. Hell, any of you. I'm sure a lot of you work jobs and maybe you go to conventions for whatever industry you're working in, or maybe you go out with friends. I mean, if you find that your nights regularly end in tears, take steps so they stop ending that way. Unless some weird part of you likes having a shitty time and having to deal with a bunch of awful aftermath, just stop. I know that's hard for some people. If you find that continuously you get yourself in stupid situations where alcohol is concerned, then in all seriousness, it may be time to consider maybe BarCon or after hours adventures in at the con is just not something for you. And I'm going to give you the confidence that you're not going to miss out on work. You'll be okay. You're not going to suddenly get screwed out of opportunities because you didn't go to TGI Fridays and have a bunch of shots with Alana Smith. You'll be okay. Anyway, probably more specific example is needed there. Anyway, you have the power to control what's going to happen here, and I think you should absolutely go drink, have a good time. If I'm ever in town, I'm absolutely buying you a beer. But if you've had 40 beers before you see me, you don't have to accept the beer I hand you. In fact, I will be perfectly okay if you tell me, you know what, I'm on a lot of drugs right now, both legal and illegal, and I am not going to drink that beer. I will not be offended at all. Completely fine. I don't know. I just did a 10-minute video on know your limits, basically. So there you go. What's the answer to the question? Know your limits. But I do find it funny because I understand I have the reputation of a guy who drinks. it's a little bit, hopefully everybody understands it's a little bit fictional. Just like my hatred for Arby's is a little bit fictional. Just like if I say that, say, PF Chang's just creates explosive diarrhea, that's a little bit fictional. Not that fictional, but a little bit. I mean, all of these things. Um, I think, I don't know. Alcohol is wonderful. There's a lot of cool things. Man, there's some good drinking that can be had of it. Sorry, one more piece of advice, like a rookie mistake I see. If you get a glass of really nice scotch and you're sitting there and somebody hands it to you, it's like, this is really good. It's 40-year-old scotch. That is not a shot. You don't just down it. I can't tell you how many people in comics. I will say I could call somebody out who knows how to drink, and I met Mr. Ben Templesmith for a drink. We both sat there and drank scotch like reasonable and good men who know how to drink. I have ordered scotch and had drinks with other people in comics who pick it up and then just slam it, and that is a good way to make yourself sick and drunk. It's also disrespectful to the scotch. What are you doing? And yeah, like why are you even like? I remember this jackass. I get these two glasses. Glasses, each one is $36, which isn't that much. But I mean that's expensive for basically a cocktail. It's scotch. Definitely that's not. I'm not blowing thousands of dollars here, but $36. You're holding this glass. And I pick it up and I sip it, and it's like, enjoying the smoky kind of aftertaste and everything else. And this jackass like slams it, and he's like, that was burns my throat, and then he like grabs a glass of water and like starts chugging the water, and I'm like, fuck you. Sorry. Anyway, there you go. There's your answer. I hope some people enjoyed the silliness of this video because it was pretty silly. And there you have it. That's a little beep saying I should stop talking now. Thanks for listening.